The playoffs are finally here, ladies and gentlemen. And because of that, I am going to give you guys my entire playoff predictions in this video. Now, I'm going to start with the games this weekend where we obviously know the matchups, but then I'm going to go down the line and predict future matchups all the way up until the Super Bowl. Now, the shitty thing about this video is if I'm wrong about round one, then the rest of the video really doesn't make sense. But I'm confident that I have enough correct picks to where the rest of the playoffs at least somewhat makes sense for me. But with that being said, before I get into my picks, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments what your predictions are for the upcoming NFL playoffs. All right, let's get right into it. Let's talk about Super Wildcard Weekend. And for the first matchup, we have the Buffalo Bills taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers in Buffalo. Now, this game's line is set at 9.5 for Buffalo, which means they're very much expected to win this game. And I am not going to disagree with that assessment, especially because TJ Watt isn't going to be playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, the Buffalo Bills are the 2 seed, but they had a really rough middle patch of the season, but they've really come on strong. Pause. They've really had a good end of the year, and they are really hot right now, and I expect them to handle business against Pittsburgh. Now, a couple things to note. A, the weather is supposed to be terrible. Snowy, blizzardy, windy, XYZ, right? Additionally, I think that we have to watch out for some untimely Josh Allen turnovers, which happened last year in the playoffs. It was way too close of a game against Miami and Skylar Thompson. But as long as he plays a relatively mistake-free game, I think they handle Pittsburgh, who doesn't have a lot of firepower, big quarterback disadvantage. Give me the Bills 26-17. Speaking of games with terribly cold weather, we have the Kansas City Chiefs hosting the Miami Dolphins in what is said to be negative 30-degree wind chill. Now, I know you might be thinking that the warm weather Miami Dolphins might be freezing their asses off, and you would be correct. But if you want to look at it in a different light, this might benefit the Dolphins because they do run the football very well. However, the Chiefs do play really good defense and are kind of used to the colder weather in Kansas City. They have already played in a snow game this year, right? And when you look at Miami, their quarterback, Tua, is from Hawaii, went to Alabama, and then played in the NFL in Miami. He's a warm weather guy. I think Tua is going to really, really struggle to throw the ball in the cold weather. So while I do think this Dolphins team is talented, they're going to be freezing their asses off. And let's not forget, they're injured to all shit right now. Tyreek's not 100%. Jalen Waddle's not 100%. Raheem Mostert won't be 100%. They lost both their edge rushers. Jerome Baker is hurt. I'm not sure if he's playing or not, but he's not going to be 100%. I mean, they're literally just signing guys off the street to play defense. I unfortunately can't pick the Dolphins here. I'm going to take the Chiefs 21-10 in Arrowhead to advance to the next round. This next game, I think that this is arguably the game of the week. If not the game of the week, it's the second game of the week. And I'm be so honest, I was tossing and turning on who to pick in this game. And ultimately, in terms of the Texans hosting the Cleveland Browns, I barely have to give the edge to the Cleveland Browns. And the reason I say that is because Joe Flacco has playoff experience, right? Joe Flacco is an elite quarterback.
I think Joe Flacco is actually a very elite quarterback.
But in all seriousness, Joe Flacco's been there and done that. Stefanski has won playoff games with the Browns. They've kind of been able to have a little bit of postseason success a couple of years ago, whereas the Texans, rookie head coach, rookie quarterback, probably very few guys on the roster have been in the playoffs and done anything. I just think that in terms of experience, I just give the edge to Cleveland. Their defense is still really good. I'm going to have the Cleveland Browns winning this game 20-24. It's going to be a very close game, but I think the Cinderella Texans story, unfortunately, dies in Houston this weekend. All right, and let's jump over to the NFC, starting off with the Cowboys going against the Packers. Now, listen, I hate the Cowboys just as much as you watching. I promise you I do. But I cannot deny that the Cowboys are really fucking good this year. Unfortunately, they've got super talented players. CeeDee Lamb, in my opinion, had the best receiver season of anybody this season. Dak Prescott had a career year, second team All-Pro. The defense is lights out most of the time. They're able to make plays. And more specifically for this game, they're dominant at home. They are a different team at home. And unfortunately for the rest of the league, not named the 49ers, the Cowboys were able to get the 2 seed. So unless they play the 49ers, their playoff games will be in Dallas, Texas. And I just think for the Packers, you had a good season. Jordan Love showed major signs of being a franchise quarterback. You had young receivers, but the defense is still really sus. And with the Cowboys offense operating the way it is, especially at home, I just don't see a world where the Packers are able to beat the Cowboys in Dallas. I have the Cowboys winning this one 31-20. Again, getting out of the wild card round and getting into the divisionals where I think they really have to start exercising their demons. But I think the wild card round, they definitely take care of business against Green Bay. Okay, this is the one that is probably actually the game of the week. I might have lied to you just a few minutes ago, but we have the Detroit Lions, who have won their division for the first time in 30 years. Never in my life have I witnessed the Detroit Lions winning the North. Kind of crazy. Kind of crazy. Fun fact for you, by the way. Before this season, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have won the NFC North more recently than the Detroit Lions have. Just wild to think about. Anyway, taking on the Los Angeles Rams. Now, the big storyline in this game is Matthew Stafford's return to Detroit. Everybody's going to be up in arms about it, including myself. It's a great, great storyline, right? So, I think this game is going to be insanely close. Like, I think that we're talking about a razor's edge difference between these two teams. Not because one team is necessarily equally talented. I think the Lions are significantly more talented from a personnel standpoint. But when you look at coach and when you look at quarterback, I think the Rams have a pretty decent advantage. Obviously, the Lions' skill position players are fantastic. David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Even Jameson Williams can, I think, beat you over the top. But unfortunately, the Lions' defense has been just such a kryptonite all year. And if there's one coach that I really, really trust to absolutely exploit that weakened Lions defense, it is Sean McVay. It is Sean McVay, and I think Matthew Stafford is going to be able to slice him up. Puka Nacua, expect him to have a big game. Expect Cooper Kupp to have a big game. Kyron Williams might get in the end zone. I just think that it's going to be hard for Detroit to handle, again, the pressure of being there for the first time, scheming against, Sean McVay. I mean, if you boil it down to, just the coaching matchup, Sean McVay or Dan Campbell. I mean, let's be honest here, right? So, again, I think this game is very close. I'm going to have the Lions losing this one, unfortunately, though, 27-28. I can see a late goof, interception, fumble, whatever, late in the game to seal it for the Rams. But I do have to give this one to Los Angeles, unfortunately. All right, and then the last wild card game, fittingly, the one that's on Monday night, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers hosting the Philadelphia Eagles, who are on a terrible stretch right now. They've lost 5 of 6. They do not look like the Philadelphia Eagles that we saw last season and for the first 10 games in this season. People are wondering what the hell happened. The answer is that Drew Lock broke them. Let's just be real here. Anyways, Bucs versus Eagles. Listen, I understand that it's kind of a trendy topic to just shit on the Eagles right now. Deservingly so, because they have really faltered in the last few weeks of the season. But I'm still picking the Eagles to win. I mean, come on. The Buccaneers, they're not a good team. They really just benefited from a bad division, in my opinion. And I know I'm a notorious Bucs hater, and I predicted them to be like the third, what did I say, like the second or third worst team in the league. And I apologize for that. Bucs fan, I know you're watching. You're my guy. You're my OG. I appreciate you. But once again, I'm going to have to doubt Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers, unfortunately. Now, they beat Philadelphia Eagles. I put my heads up in the air and I said, you guys win, right? But you won your division. You had a good year. There's some signs pointing up. But unfortunately, it's the Philadelphia Eagles. And I think if they just actually got their shit together for a few quarters, not even a whole game, if they got their shit together for a few quarters, were running the ball effectively, hit some deep shots. I know Jalen Hurts is banged up. I know A.J. Brown's banged up. Though, again, their defense really has fallen off a cliff the last 5 or 6 weeks. But, again, I think they're just too talented. They're too good at offensive and defensive line. I just don't expect them to lose to the Buccaneers. I also heard that it's supposed to be really rainy. So I think the one weakness of the Eagles is their defensive backs. It would be harder to exploit that with rainy weather. Give me the Eagles. Give me 30-20. I don't like it. I don't like picking the Eagles right now, but I kind of have to. All right, and let's jump back to the AFC and go to the AFC divisional games. In my scenario, we would then have the 1-seed Ravens taking on the lowest remaining seed, 5 of the Cleveland Browns. This would be a fantastic game, the Ravens versus the Browns, a divisional matchup. The Browns were one of the few teams to beat the Ravens last year with their starters. I'm not counting that last game at Pittsburgh. But let's go ahead and talk about why this would be such a good game. It's because I have a theory, and I'm pretty correct about this theory, so it's more like a thesis, I guess you could say. Teams that don't face Lamar Jackson on a consistent basis don't know how to play Lamar Jackson. The 49ers look like a JV team playing Lamar Jackson. The Seahawks, the Lions, any NFC team who doesn't see Lamar Jackson didn't know how the fuck to play him. Now, the opposite in that scenario works for teams that do play him. The Browns play him twice a year, every year in his career, right? And not that makes it so the Browns are going to stop Lamar Jackson, but they have a much better idea. They've been on the same field as him. They've ran with him. They know what it's like to rush him, because you can't emulate Lamar Jackson on scout team. You know, whoever your backup quarterback is, not running 4-3 and juking everybody out. That's not how it's going to work. So I think the Browns have an advantage over most other teams in stopping Lamar Jackson, just because they've played him so many times. They're familiar with him. They're familiar with the Ravens, how they want to play, etc. Right? Also, there's the other side of, you've played the team twice this year. You got film on them, everything like that, right? With that being said, do I expect the game to be close? Yes, I do. Do I expect Joe Flacco in his revenge game against Baltimore to have a surprisingly good outing? Yes, I do. Do I expect the Browns to win this game? No, I do not. Lamar Jackson is the MVP of the league right now, and I think for the first time in his career, you can really look at his players on offense and say they are complimenting him, right? Isaiah Likely has been making a lot of plays. He is complimenting Lamar Jackson. Odell, Zay Flowers, even Rashad Bateman complimenting Lamar Jackson. Whereas I think in years past, it's been Lamar is kind of not doing it on its own, but he kind of doesn't have a lot of help. This year, I think Lamar is doing a really good job of incorporating other members of the offense, and they're doing a good job of helping him out. I'm going to get the Ravens here, 28-24. It's going to be a tight divisional game. It's going to come down to a few big plays. I feel like this is going to come down to a late drive by the Ravens, just chewing clock, running the football. Good on Joe Flacco. It's a good story. He's going to come back to Baltimore. But unfortunately, I just don't think it's enough. Next, we have the Bills going up against the Chiefs. Now, listen, the Chiefs have been kind of the Bills' kryptonite for the past few seasons. I mean, if we're being, especially in the postseason, right? And I understand the Bills beat the Chiefs earlier in this year. I'm not going to get into the controversy of what happened, but let's just say it was a little sus, right? And that is kind of, to me, what kickstarted the Bills' turnaround of their season. What kind of made them from missing out on the playoffs to then having this awesome stretch and becoming the number 2 seed. In the playoffs against Kansas City, this game would be in Buffalo, which is big. It is big. But I just think that it's so hard to beat Mahomes in the playoffs. And I feel like Josh Allen isn't going to be perfect in the sense that he's going to give the Chiefs a few extra possessions. Now, the Chiefs are not at the peak of their powers. They are not what they have been in years past. They're not able to just, throw it over your head and get those big chunk plays. That's not really how they operate. Travis Kelce is a shell of himself, unfortunately. But the Chiefs, I think, are playing better defense, and they're running the ball better than they have in years past. Mahomes is still Patrick Mahomes. Let's not forget that. And I think that they're kryptonite to the Bills. Andy Reid is a better coach than Sean McDermott. For those reasons, I'm going to take the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm going to take the Chiefs to win this game 30-24. Again, close game, not really a blowout, nothing crazy, close game, but I will be taking the Kansas City Chiefs to win. Now to the NFC. Let's go ahead and talk about the top-seeded 49ers taking on the Rams, the 6th seed. Now, again, if there's anybody that I think, and maybe this is a spoiler, if there's anybody that I think could knock off the 49ers, it is the Rams. Not because the Rams are the best team, not because they have the best quarterback or coach or whatever. Well, they probably do have the best coach. But anyway, it's because Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay play each other a lot. And there was a level of this is kind of what I was just talking about with the Ravens and Browns. There's a level of familiarity with them. They've seen each other. They've played each other. And I would expect a divisional opponent to be able to get under the skin of the 49ers, to kind of know what they're about to run and do everything like that. Now, I will give the Rams a chance to win this game, but I don't think they do it, unfortunately. I think the 49ers, if you just look personnel, it's just too massive of a gap, and you have a phenomenal coach in Kyle Shanahan. I got to take the 49ers to win this game 35-26. A game that's probably closer than the final score, but I think the Niners just pull away in the end, and unfortunately there's nothing the Rams could do. And this is my third divisional round game featuring divisional opponents, fitting for the name. We have the Cowboys taking on the Philadelphia Eagles in Dallas. Now, we saw the second time they played earlier in this year, the Dallas Cowboys really put an ass whooping on the Eagles in Dallas. They almost beat them in Philly, so both the games have kind of gone in good favor of the Cowboys, minus a few missed plays against the Eagles in Philly. But this game, I really do expect the Cowboys and Eagles to give each other everything they've got. I think that this is going to be one of the most physical games of the year. This is going to be a game where the Eagles and Cowboys kind of just put everything to the side and they just want to kill each other. I mean, truthfully, this is the purest form of football, is when you just want to kill your opponent, metaphorically speaking, obviously. But I think that we're going to get a really good game. This might be the game of the playoffs. I'm just being honest with you. I'm going to take the Cowboys to win this game by this much, 28-26. I think that they're able to make a few more plays. I think CeeDee Lamb torches this Eagles secondary, and unfortunately, Jalen Hurts and company will not be making a repeat trip to the Super Bowl. Now, speaking of the Super Bowl, we have the conference championship games to get to the Super Bowl. In the AFC, I have the Ravens taking on the Kansas City Chiefs in Baltimore. I do think the Ravens are going to be able to win this one 29-24. Like I said, I just don't know if the Chiefs have the personnel to keep up with Lamar Jackson, to keep up with Isaiah Likely, Zay Flowers, everything like that, and then supplement that by scoring points to keep up with Lamar Jackson on offense. The Ravens defense is awesome. Kyle Hamilton, Roquan Smith, Marlon Humphrey, they have been balling all year. Their defensive line is surprisingly awesome. I mean, before the year, I didn't think it was necessarily a weakness, but I didn't expect it to be this dominant. I think that is attributed to Mike McDonald, the defensive coordinator. He's done a phenomenal job this year. I think that he keeps Patrick Mahomes in check. I think the Ravens offense does enough, and I think they win this game to advance to the Super Bowl. Now on the NFC side, just like it was multiple times during the 1990s, we get the 49ers and the Cowboys in San Francisco to go to the Super Bowl. Now, the 49ers have been the demon that the Dallas Cowboys need to exercise the last couple of years in the playoffs, and unfortunately, they're not able to commit it this year. They're not able to do it. 30-24. Give me the 49ers once again. I don't love Mike McCarthy against Kyle Shanahan. Now again, I think the Cowboys will be better. This will be a competitive game, but I expect the 49ers to handle the Cowboys. I expect Brock Purdy to have a really good day, unfortunately, for my agenda. And I think Christian McCaffrey also cements himself as probably the best skill position player in the entire NFL. All right, and that gets us to the Super Bowl. I don't know Roman numerals, so I'm not going to pretend to do the little X, Y, whatever thing. I'm just going to say it's the Super Bowl, and I'm really going to be really excited for it. So, Ravens, 49ers, just like it was during the 2012 season. One Harbaugh's in. Unfortunately, the other one won a championship in a different level of football, but that's neither here nor there. John Harbaugh, Kyle Shanahan, Brock Purdy, Lamar Jackson. It is going to be a great game with Usher at halftime. Pretty excited about that one. I'll be shaking some ass on my couch. But you guys don't want to hear about that. You want to hear about the game. So I would probably think that this is one of the better Super Bowls that we have gotten in a few seasons, right? You get this Kyle Shanahan team that has been super talented, gotten super close. They've lost 2 NFC Championship games. They've lost a Super Bowl. They're this close to the Lombardi. Like they can feel it, right? And they've made moves in recent years to completely get this team to the next level. This year, during the trade deadline, they acquired Chase Young. They got Javon Hargraves during free agency last year. They are very committed to winning in San Francisco, as much as it pains me as a Seahawks fan. They are a good organization, top to bottom. They got their quarterback now in Brock Purdy. They've got, the plethora of offensive skill position players, and they have been rolling now. The Baltimore Ravens, on the other hand, are looking for their first playoff success with Lamar Jackson. I mean, let's be honest. Lamar Jackson has been a phenomenal regular season quarterback, and I'm not blaming him necessarily, but he hasn't had success in the playoffs just yet. I think this right here would put him in really elite company. He would be one of very few quarterbacks in NFL history to have multiple MVPs and a Super Bowl victory, right? And I think a Super Bowl victory is so important. I just think, just for narratives, for Hall of Fame, whatever, I truthfully, if we're being hot takey, I think if Lamar Jackson wins the Super Bowl this year, he can retire tomorrow and be a Hall of Famer. I think that, right? So this game is so important for his legacy, specifically for the legacy of the 49ers under Kyle Shanahan and under John Lynch. If you look at the Baltimore Ravens, John Harbaugh's already done this, but this is a completely new team. Like, this is a team made from scratch from that old team. No repeat players. Unless there's some random guy I'm not thinking of, I'll have to text McConnell. Absolutely no players from the 2012 team. The 49ers, again, haven't won a Super Bowl for 30-something years. Well, it'll be 30 years up just about when the Super Bowl rolls around. This will be a great game. The key to this game is going to be to watch the game that happened on Christmas night, because the Ravens put an absolute ass beating on the 49ers. And I said it then, and I think it right now as we currently stand on January 12th, the day before the playoffs start. I do think that was the Super Bowl preview. I do think that those two teams are clearly the class of the NFC and the class of the AFC, and they are going to be on a collision course to meet each other in February. Now, again, the key to this game is to keep Lamar Jackson in check if you're the San Francisco 49ers, something they were not able to do. And again, I circle back to the point of they don't see Lamar Jackson. They can't replicate Lamar Jackson in practice. It is so difficult. So, are they going to be able to keep Lamar Jackson in check? Are they going to be able to, prevent him from making plays with his legs? And the thing about Lamar Jackson that I've noticed so much growth with, and the reason that I love him as a player so much, is his first few years in the league, when he broke the pocket, he was going to run for a first down, right? That's just what happened. Now it seems like he's breaking the pocket and he's keeping his eyes down the field. And so you had the play, I remember against the 49ers, where Gus Edwards kind of broke to the sidelines. Lamar Jackson evaded pressure, threw it to Gus Edwards. Well, that adds a completely different element to defense, because not only do you have to play Lamar Jackson in the pocket, keep him from getting out, but then you have to be disciplined on the back end to play the receivers, to play everybody downfield. It is just a nightmare to play Lamar Jackson. I think the key for the Ravens is going to be, can we make plays like we did against Brock Purdy on Christmas? Because, again, 4 interceptions was a career high for Brock Purdy. He looked very pedestrian. There were a few plays where, yes, it was tipped at the line of scrimmage, or, it was batted up in the air. But there were also plays where they just stepped in front of the receivers, and Brock Purdy, for whatever reason, didn't see them. So Mike Macdonald is going to be the key to this Super Bowl for the Ravens. He is going to have another schematic masterclass if the Ravens are going to win. And to be completely honest with you, I think they do. I think it's going to be 28-20. It's going to be a really, really good Super Bowl. The Niners, once again, get this close, but they're unable to do it. Lamar Jackson gets his first ring, and world peace ensues, and racism is hopefully over. Maybe people will start saying that he is, in fact, quarterback-y enough, right? But I know that's wishful thinking, unfortunately. But that is my playoff predictions for you guys. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I will talk to you in the next video. Peace out.